Have you ever blamed one thing in your life for how overwhelmed you feel, only to realize that later it actually wasn't the problem? And that's something that's happened to me, and it's something I'm kind of coming to terms with right now. And it's completely changing how I've seen the burnout that I've experienced recently. Because I'm someone who's experienced burnout and I'm healing, I'm still healing from it. I think it's a long-term journey. I've recently been diagnosed with ADHD, and there's lots going on in my life still, but I'm coping quite well actually. Ideally, by the end of this video, I want you to understand how stress stacks up in the body and why we sometimes blame the wrong thing, and how to get clearer on what's really draining you before you make any big decisions. I've made that mistake, trust me. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the most recent burnout I've suffered from. I have suffered from it more than once, but the most recent one, I saw very clearly that my business was what was draining me. My business was the problem. It was tiring me out. It was too much stress, and I needed to stop doing it and find something else to do. And I did do that. I had a relatively successful membership. I shut it all down. I decided that I couldn't do it and I needed to just give up with the internet business altogether. And that felt like a really good idea at the time. But actually what I was doing was looking at it saying, I wanted to give it up because I wasn't aligned with what I was doing. And that was the easy answer, because it felt like something I could easily give up. It was the easiest thing. So it was essentially, I was scapegoating the problem. And my business became the scapegoat for all the other stress that was going on in my life. And I'll explain a bit more about that stress so you can understand kind of like where it was coming from and why my business took the flak and why that's a really common thing to do. So now that I've got on a much more of an even keel with my nervous system regulation, and two with, well, I still have other things going on, but because I'm regulating more and I'm learning to manage them internally in a calmer way, then I'm finding that actually things are easier and they're flowing more smoothly. And that's really allowed things to click for me. So last year, although I was blaming work, saying I felt out of alignment and all of these reasons, there was a lot going on in my life. And I'm not going to share that. You don't want to know the ins and outs of everything. But essentially, I was going through legal battles with my son's father, which was dramatic and really stressful. I moved house last year, which again was really stressful because I was moving away from my family. Even though it was where I wanted to live, it was still moving away from family members that I didn't necessarily want to be parted from. My son started school, which is stressful in and of itself. But then every day I was going to the school, they were giving me a negative report about him and something else he'd done wrong. And it was like day after day after day, like this little drip going on. And then in the end, they said basically they told me that he has autism. So we went in for the diagnosis for that. And then they wanted him to change schools. So I had to rush around and find him a school. And we were living with my mum at the time. So I was buying a house. All of these things were going on. And the truth is, I couldn't just not deal with my son's school, and I couldn't not deal with the legal battles with his dad, and I couldn't not find myself a new house to live in. So I couldn't drop those things. So my work became, well, it must be that's the problem that's stressing me out. And really all that was like the straw that broke the camel's back. It was the extra thing on top, but it got the blame. And it's just that constant emotional load. So when you get to that point, you've got this emotional load and there's no space for you. And that's how my life felt. Like I had no space for me. And all I saw was my business was taking the time that I could spend on me, I was spending on my business, and I needed that space for me. And when that much is happening behind the scenes, even the things you normally enjoy start to feel impossible. And actually I love my business and I love working. And I think I did enjoy my business. I just couldn't find the joy for it. So when your life is stacked with stress, you've got one thing on another, the brain will look for the most obvious culprit, and also the easy thing to go for. And work is often the easiest thing to point out because it's the thing that demands a lot of energy and it's the thing that you do consistently. And so it's easy to make that the thing. And when you're stressed at that, when your nervous system is shutting down and you are really stressed, you are properly in survival mode. And that narrows your vision down and makes everything feel like too much. And so you can't see the wood from the trees, essentially. You don't have enough capacity to deal with that. So you can't see clearly, you can't think clearly. Everything is survival mode. And you end up making the decisions from exhaustion and not from truth. And so actually, you're not even necessarily making the right decision for you, but it is a decision. And I look back on it now and I think, do you know what? It's a shame. I'm a bit disappointed that I made that decision. But I also appreciate the space and the time that it gave me. I had to renovate my home. I spent so many hours getting my home renovated so I could move into it. And all of these things I couldn't have done if I was working flat out. And so, yes, it relieved some stress at the time. But do I kind of look at it and think I could have handled it a different way? Absolutely. And that's all part of the learning process and the regulation and starting to get to figure out where it is that you are and being able to sit back and look at things as a witness and look at your life without blame or judgment. Just say, well, okay, I could have handled that differently, but I didn't. And that's where I am. Because the realization came to me that the work wasn't actually the problem. I was just carrying more than I actually realised. I was carrying more than I needed. Well, not that I needed to cope with, that I could cope with. There was just so much going on emotionally that I couldn't carry everything. But once I allowed myself that bit of rest and things in my life settled down, so my son's in a new school. He's happy as anything. The school love him. I never have any dramas. It's like amazing. Different child. And everything's resolved with his dad, kind of. And I'm living in my own home now. I've got my own space. It's not fully decorated, but it's comfortable enough to live in. So all of those stresses have kind of reduced as well. But I know that I can cope with them. So when a drama comes up, I'm much better at coping with it. So it's not impacting the other areas of my life. And I think that's really important to kind of get to that stage. And just reminding myself that my burnout wasn't a sign that I was on the wrong path, because sometimes that's what happened. You get to that burnout thing. You think, oh, it's because I'm on the wrong path. But actually it was a sign that I was overloaded and under-supported. And I really was. I was just kind of like there, not coping. And one of the things that I've been working on with my business now is having a network of people around me so that I feel supported, not just with the people that I know in my physical life, but online as well. Because an online business is very lonely. It takes a lot of hours. And so it's putting those things in place as well. And sometimes like the thing that we think is breaking us isn't the thing at all. It's just, like I said before, the final straw on top of everything. It's just the thing. And then you just think, I just can't go with any of it. It's just too much. And obviously some of the things you can't give up. I can't not deal with my son's school. I can't stop. I can't walk away from that. So I could walk away from a business that was taking up my time. Simple as that, really. So what do I want to offer you? Because obviously it's my story. It's not going to be the same as yours. But my bits of advice, for what they're worth, are to not make the big decisions when you're drowning in stress, because actually you can't think clearly. That decision is not born out of reality. It's just born out of the stress. And maybe I could have said to people, I'm going to take a short break and then come back to it. And that would have been different. It would have felt a different energy. So you can give yourself time and space and support before choosing that direction. So come back to your regulation practices, tune into your body, start to heal the nervous system before you make those big life decisions, because they are major. And once you've made the decisions, you have to then look at where you are and maybe reassess everything. And it's worth taking your time before you make those big decisions. And just remembering that if you're feeling overwhelmed, you might be misreading your life because you're in that survival mode, because you're in that stress. And so allowing yourself that time to breathe, to pause, to break, you know, we're in the sacred pause, and I love to talk about pausing, breaking, breathing, coming back to you. And it is so vital. And sometimes it's not the job, it's not the dream, it's not the path, it's just the season of life you're in. And sometimes you just got to go through it. And that's not necessarily the best advice you want to hear, but the truth is sometimes life throws us a pile of stuff. So what you need to find the way to cope is how you cope with it, rather than letting it dominate you. And that's it's part of the journey I'm learning as well. So I'm not sitting here saying, oh, I have this all sorted and I am never going to struggle again, because I don't believe that, in the sense that I don't know what life is going to throw at me. I don't actually know, and I can't I can't promise myself that. And I can't promise myself that if something awful happened, I wouldn't need time to myself to be calm and to reflect and to understand and to appreciate that I am a human being and I may have other things that come up that will need healing. So that being said, let's go into a practice. And this is called the stress sorting practice. So you can sit for a moment and come into your body. So with all of these things, I always like us to say, just to sense the body, to feel it, to feel what's happening inside. This is something actually, before I get into the details of the practice, it's something I've been teaching my son because he does have ADHD. That often he's unaware of physical sensations, doesn't have much interoception. And that's what we're working on, is interoception. So what do these things feel like in your body? So I often say to him, it's quite useful I do this because I can teach him quite a lot. So I'll say, like, what does this feel like? And when you feel sad, where do you feel that in your body? So he's starting to he's only 5 and I'm starting to tune him into, where do you feel this? Where do you feel that? And it's the same with us as adults. Often, whether we have ADHD or not, we have tuned out our bodies. So we don't know how things feel in our body. So this is about tuning into our bodies, our interoception. What does it feel inside? So when you're feeling stress, and it doesn't have to be extreme stress, it can be a little bit of stress, whatever, just come and sit quietly and start to feel the body. Feel what you're feeling in the body. So when you think about the stress you're experiencing, where are you feeling it in your body? Right? Notice that. Are you sitting heaviness in your chest? Do you have butterflies in the stomach? Do you have an activation in the solar plexus? What is happening for you? Do you feel a tightness in your throat? Some people might feel it there. You might feel it in your head. Notice, or on your shoulders, where does the stress sit for you? And when you're tuning into your body, ask your body. So we're not asking our brain or our anything else. We're asking our body, what's actually draining me right now? And allow the body to bring things up to the mind. Allow those sensations, because our body holds a lot of wisdom. Allow it to bring it up. So we're using the intuition of the body to bring forward the things that are draining us. And just allow what comes up to come up. And it's not necessarily the first thing that pops into the mind, but often it is. Just allow what's there. And allow everything that you're carrying to come up now. So allow all the things, so not just one thing, all the things that you're carrying. Let them come up. Let your body bring them up. Let your mind bring them up. Everything. And when you're doing that, start to write them down. Write down the list of everything. Everything that's draining you. And then as you've got your list in front of you, and you can pause this and take some more time over it, just circle the things that are really taking your energy, the things that are zapping you, the things that are draining you the most, not necessarily the things that are taking the most time. Because it's easy to blame the things that are taking the most time, but they may not be the things that are draining you. And this can help you to bring a bit more clarity to where you are. So you're tuning it, you're trying to do this from the wisdom of the body, okay? And do it that way, tuning in. And when you think about each thing, so think you've got your list of things in front of you that are draining you. Find one thing, like go through them one by one. And when you say it, feel it in the body. Feel where that element of your life feels in your body. And you may notice real constriction for some things, and actually other things, they feel like a lot, but they don't feel constricting. And having a lot in your life doesn't mean that you're going to burn out, or you're going to be exhausted, or you're going to be stressed. Having the things that stress you is what stresses you and burns you out. So just being aware of that. So like I said, I have ADHD. I struggle with too many communications with people. So I'm doing a lot online at the moment, a lot. And actually, even with that, if I do too much, I will get to the end of the day and I'll be totally wiped out. And so it's listening to my body and only doing what I can manage to do on a daily basis and being okay with that. And that's the thing, it's listening to your body, tuning in and accepting the wisdom that it gives you. Oh, I've gone on for longer than I expected. Hopefully this has helped you bring some clarity. It makes sense and it's not just me waffling on. But if you like it, remember to like and subscribe. Drop a comment as well if you want to share anything. And if you would like to go deeper, I have a group called the Sacred Pause on School. I will drop the link in the description and I would love to see you on the inside.